Hello and welcome to a bonus episode of Funbearable. I'm Brad Rohr.
I'm Ray Harrington.
And I'm Chuck Staten.
And this is a special bonus.
Yes. We went to Tribeca Film Festival a little while back. We interviewed Jeff Tremaine and Patrick O'Dell. It was the premiere of Dumb, the story of Big Brother magazine. Yep. And we'll kind of get into the whole thing afterwards, but we did release this audio episode on the Chuck and Brad podcast feed back when we had that podcast, and we never released the video. So now that Funbearable has a YouTube channel and a lot of fun stuff like that, we're going to put it out here and stick around after the interview because we're going to talk about some of the behind the scenes of that. It was a very funny day. A lot of funny stuff happened, and even the idea of me and Brad being at Tribeca Film Festival to interview Jeff Tremaine, the director of the Jackass movies, is already funny.
Yeah.
Mm. And the reason we're doing it is because Jeff Tremaine has a new series coming out, a new docuseries coming out this very week. I think it's on Paramount Plus, right? And it's called...
I don't remember.
Whack-ass.
It's called... it's about the 80s. And we'll tell you the name after the break.
But one of the things we wanted to talk about that we thought was a great starting point for this was the idea of Big Brother magazine, and was it a reflection of skateboarding culture that time, or did it influence skateboarding culture that time?
That's a good... For me, it was a reflection of skateboarding. You know, like when I came up in the old Thrasher era. You know, I'm
Right.
older, and so I was influenced by the punk rockness and how, you know, when you had Thrasher, you felt like you were in this kind of secret club that, but by the time we were making Big Brother, honestly, Thrasher got kind of tired, and I liked how punk rock and Rocco was definitely pushing us towards just make this magazine crazy, and like it's the thing your parents shouldn't see. This is your
Yeah. So that's what I was thinking. I was actually kind of like thinking about the movie Kids, like the that movie by Larry Clark. I was just like, it's an interesting thing because that movie comes off as like a little bit dark and disturbing, and by a little bit I mean a total lot. But like, there's a lot of truth to that movie, so that's why I'm kind of thinking this direction where it's like, there was a lot of like skate videos, obviously after that were definitely super influenced by Big Brother, and I just wonder, like, if there was this percentage of shenanigans beforehand, what was the percentage after this kind of takeover? You know what I mean? I think about that.
Well, I was a fan of Big Brother.
Right.
So I'm coming from the perspective of I was in high school and getting it. And I would say I was different before and after.
Oh, yeah.
So I would say it changed me.
That was one of the things, actually. We watched in the documentary. We're like, okay, like, we know about your history with skateboarding and Epically Latered, and we were waiting for you to come up, and you're not in the movie.
Yeah. No, I was behind the camera asking the questions.
Yeah, right. Yeah, so we wanted to know about your relationship with Big Brother magazine because it doesn't really get explored in the movie.
I was a fan of Big Brother, and I think the storytelling aspects of Big Brother influenced Epically Latered. It became like, I think, because like Transworld and Thrasher were awesome for the photography, Transworld for the photography and Thrasher for like maybe the punk element.
Yeah.
Right.
But Big Brother, I think, was special for the storytelling.
Yeah.
And I think that's something I took with me, that there's great stories in skateboarding.
Right.
Yeah.
That's really interesting. That's a great way to put it. We were actually talking about it, and I'm kind of like, I think about like the idea of a collective group of people and the camaraderie of basically the staff becoming characters. Mm-hmm. That's almost like a part of the heart of the magazine, so that's an interesting thing. I started my band in about 2002, and I always looked at the cast of Jackass as kind of like the coolest rock and roll band ever. And then, and they're not a band. You know what I mean? It's not a band.
I thought they were the third coolest rock and roll band ever.
Yeah. Behind who?
Elvin and the Chipmunks.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
And the Beach Boys, because that's all I was allowed to listen to growing up.
That's true. Yeah, he comes from a very conservative background. Actually, that's an interesting place to go with this.
Yeah, I as we watched the documentary, I'm like, I would have gotten a copy of this magazine in the 90s and then like been so guilt-riddled that I would have been like, Mom, I'm sorry. I let you down. I'm so sorry. Like I gave her CDs that I bought that had non-Christian messages, and she destroyed them. So
yeah,
that's my background.
My parents are coming tonight. I'm a little nervous that they just
it's
texted me, "We're coming."
Oh, good.
And I didn't know until 2 days ago. I want to be like, "Are you sure?" I haven't talked to them about the content. I have no idea.
I was a little surprised because it's a documentary, so I didn't expect so many dicks. You know what I mean?
A lot of dicks.
A lot of dicks. I sat with my parents in the edit bay right after we had just locked picture, basically.
Yeah.
And watched it with them. And but they've seen all my shit. They know.
Yeah.
They say one's too many, 1,000's never enough.
You know.
Now they have a taste for it. They're just like, there's not more dicks in this.
They I mean, after they're like, I liked it. I'm like, why? No, you're not allowed. But that was in the military. You know, you're not allowed to like it. Like it's not. Your parents aren't supposed to like it. That's the goal.
Yeah,
you know?
right.
Well, Jeff's a parent now, and I kept wondering during the documentary, whether look, because we kept looking back at things with 2017 sensibility,
Right.
Oh, yeah.
and wondering like. You were okay with putting this out, but now that you're a parent, are you cool with the kids?
Yeah. It was. I definitely have a different perspective when I look back at how rotten we were, and but I didn't want to censor it to my new sensibilities. You know, like I had to let all that shit.
You want to tell the true story of
it.
Right.
So
actually, one of the things you talked about was the idea of the magazine seemed like it really was kind of a let it all hang out kind of situation. But was there anything that was too gnarly to put in that was just like, oh, we tried to do this, but it was a little bit too dark or fucked?
Well, we usually put all that stuff in and then I'd regret later. You know, it's more like there was no censorship. Absolutely not. You know, like I think I told this story, but like there was one time we like shot a picture of a guy in a devil suit and he's doing a heel flip over a stack of burning Bibles, and it became this big issue in the office.
Yeah.
And I was got into this dilemma because one of the owners of World Industries was yelling at me about, you can't put that on. Do you understand? Blah, 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 blah. And so I'm like, oh, shoot. And he's like, this is going to bring World Industries down. Like World Industries was the parent company to Big Brother. And so I took that up to Steve Rocco, who owned the magazine and owned World Industries. I'm like, listen, I don't want the magazine to jeopardize. He's like, I didn't hire you to come to me for all your. He's like, don't be a pussy and make the magazine I am asking you to make. That's all he said. He didn't tell me to do it or not to do it, but he did say, don't be a pussy. But God bless him, man. He like Rocco was a true like creative enabler. You know, he paid. He like we had no budget. Like I mean, by no budget, I mean we could do whatever we wanted.
Right.
And it was as a creative person, it was absolute freedom. And I grew up, that was a great, like my third job out of in my career path. And I've never gone back. Like having that, I couldn't go back, you know?
Yeah. Oh yeah. One of the things that's interesting is, you talk about the idea of like kind of looking at it with different sensibilities now is at the time, like some of it, I think that there's like either a message or an ethos at least behind a lot of the stuff that happened and a lot of the stuff you guys wrote about and did. And some of it just seems fucked to be fucked. And is there something to just that being like, well, this represents just being fucked to be fucked. And that's kind of because we're creating this magazine, but it exists in a world of this is censored, this is censored, this is censored. So this is going to stand as this.
Like there is some of that. This is fucked to be fucked, but we were smarter than that. I like to think, the writing was really exceptional, and I didn't do that, so I can toot the horn of that. We took stupid very serious, and the craftsmanship. I think we put a lot of heart and time into.
Yeah, totally. I completely agree. It's just I'm thinking about the kids issue and the how to commit suicide thing.
Well,
you can see in the documentary, like Spike is like, why did we do that?
Right. Yeah. It seems like that stuff is a little bit like because there should be something that pushes the boundaries this much.
Well, there's supposed to be some sort of check at some point. Like everything you do, but there was nobody checking us. And there was, in fact, at the top, it was being encouraged to be as naughty as possible. And so
and you don't know where the line is until you find it.
And the line moves, the line on the first issue, like to what makes you laugh, it's the same as Jackass. Like if you watch how Jackass evolved, the TV show stuff would never have made the movies. It wouldn't make us laugh. It's all about making, and it's like, I don't know, drugs. Like, at first a couple sips of beer get you drunk enough, but now it takes more and more. It evolves in a
that's one of the
crazy
things,
way.
Yeah, that's one of the things I was thinking about too. Is like if you challenge it in this direction, it's like okay, well we did that, so now we got to top that a little bit. And sometimes you go lateral as opposed to topping it, but eventually you do have to get crazier. Especially
I've learned
like that.
Trying to top yourself is a recipe for failure. Yeah. You really need to just believe in what you're doing, and it's naturally going to top itself as you get better at things, and you can't force it, or you're it's manufactured in bullshit, right? Like I think you had, like with Jackass and, like, honestly, whenever we got caught up thinking, well, what are we going to do to outdo this? That's when no good ideas came out.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, what are we going to do that makes us laugh? That's where it comes from. And that's, what makes us laugh is naturally going to be a little more outrageous than before, but you can't get caught up in trying to outdo the last thing.
Yeah, that makes total sense.
It's such a bad way of thinking.
Yeah, especially if it's pushing boundaries.
Yeah.
As you were filming and talking to all these people, but what kind of emotions came up for you as these people are recounting the stories of these pretty crazy times?
Well, part of me was, I guess, meeting these people, feeling like I was time warping into something I was really big fan of, not just Jackass, but Big Brother.
Yeah,
right.
That a couple times I would have that like pinch yourself moment, like I can't believe I'm like I've become a part of this thing that I was a huge fan of that influenced me.
Right. Especially like, you were in high school and reading this magazine and it's not like you were like, you wake up on your 17th birthday and you're like, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to make a documentary about this magazine.
Well,
that's
what's interesting about this dynamic, because it's basically the creator and the fan of what happened. So it's the exact person that you were aiming this at that gets to make the documentary about it, which is so perfect because that's going to bring such an interesting narrative to it.
Yeah, and I didn't, really know if he was a fan. I didn't know Patrick very well. I was just a huge fan of Epically Later,
right?
And saw that he can tell stories that are really compelling in our world. That I just, as we were finally going to do this documentary, which has been sitting around for a long time in our minds, Patrick was the natural place. And so I didn't realize. Yeah, you had a picture in the magazine.
Yeah, skate photo of me skating. I enjoyed some of the blowouts. When we started getting close to having rough cuts, we started bringing in some of the people to see what they thought.
Yeah.
And some of the blowouts were funny. Like at first they'd be kind of annoying, and then I'd be like, this is awesome. Like I'm in it.
Yeah.
These guys are fighting just like they did in 1994.
These guys have not advanced emotionally at all in 23 years.
And I have a front row seat.
Yeah.
Well, because I was thinking of, should I say?
Yeah, go ahead.
Well, like Chris Naracco, who I think of as really mature. He's got kids. He's married. He's like a real stand-up, solid guy. But suddenly he reverted into this Chris Naracco I knew from 15 years ago.
Right. I read his book. So
I was like, oh my God. At first I was like, I'm like, oh, he's mad. And then you said, like, this is an awesome, like, dick-headed email. Let's just enjoy it.
Like, Chris is so good at that. Like, and it was the perfect email, even though it was like criticizing.
He was stinging us.
And just being a dick to it. I loved every second of it because that's Chris.
Like, that's awesome.
I don't want a nice email from Chris. You know what I mean? That doesn't make sense.
Yeah, take all the criticism.
God bless. How about the Dio thing? Like,
oh my God. See, it's funny because like was that ever in a tape or was it brand new for this? That's what I thought.
No one's ever seen it.
I'm like, I don't remember ever seeing this, and I was like, this is crazy uncomfortable.
Yes.
When I watched the raw tape, I was kind of dancing around the edit studio, like I can't believe we found this tape.
Yeah.
But really, like watching through my fingers.
Oh yeah. Absolutely.
You know the story is we shot that actually. It was a Big Brother article.
Yeah.
But we were filming for the pilot of Jackass, and I always thought, let's try to, we didn't know what Jackass was going to be.
Right.
When I sold it. And so I thought, well, Naracco fucks with bands. Let's get that. Maybe that's one of the little elements that's going to be in Jackass. And so we set it up to do the Dio interview. And we had two cameras rolling. Spike Jonze is filming one, and Rick Kosick is filming the other. And Naracco, when the shit hits the fan, Naracco tells Spike, give me that tape. He grabs the tape and jets.
Oh, yeah.
Jetted with Spike's tape.
Thing to do, yeah.
But Kosick got grabbed by House of Blues security, got choked out. I'm trying to grab the camera and I'm getting held back, but Kosick is getting choked. They ripped the camera out of his hand, stole it. So there's only one angle. There was a 2-camera shoot.
Oh my God.
And I mean, he really.
I like that you're like, oh, my friend's getting choked. Let me get the camera.
All I cared about was the tape. I actually wanted to film Rick getting choked as part of it too. But,
I had a third camera.
But whatever.
And then let me know if this is not material, but I felt like when we submitted the documentary to lawyers.
Yes.
Right.
I thought there's a chance.
Me too.
That they're going to.
I thought. I was like, can people get in trouble for this? That's what I thought.
Because there's Disneyland.
Yep.
There's shooting yourself.
Yeah.
And there's Dio. And I'm thinking, if those three things get taken...
Let's not poke the bull. We got it in.
Okay, never mind. I was like, this could come back.
No one sued us?
Let me list the number of people
Poke
who
the bear.
could...
Poke the bear. Let's not poke the bear.
Let's not poke any animals that could hurt us.
God bless the lawyers on this thing. We got away with a lot of stuff. So.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I know it's funny because we've done a lot of filming over the years, and we filmed a lot of pranks and stunts, and so I've been in the situation where it's grab the tape, and I've been in the situation where it's security coming after you or police coming, whatever. But I think about that Dio interview, and we've done a lot of interviews now. And like, I'll go into an interview and be like, oh, I kind of want to ask this person about this, but it seems even the tiniest bit confrontational. And I'm like, oh, fuck, I can't do it. I can't come at him. So like coming at him with something so directly confrontational. I'm telling you,
I'd never been with Naraka when he did one of these band interviews.
Yeah.
That was the first time I ever sat in the room with him when he did one.
Yeah.
And I honestly didn't. I thought he made up some of the stuff.
Yeah.
Fuck no. And he's masterful at bringing it down and then taking it up and then bringing the guy back down and then just.
I know he's playing like kind of like the innocent.
And there's a lot of shit.
I didn't know that. I'm sorry. Yeah.
He got all this intel because I don't think he even really knew Dio very well.
Right. Yeah,
so he got this intel. It's like, don't ask him about Ozzy. So like question 3 was, hey, what was it like being in a band with Ozzy?
Yeah.
That's not even in the doc. That's on the tape. And he's like, what do you mean being in a band with Ozzy? We're both singers. How can we be in the same band? I replaced him in Black Sabbath. Just
oh man.
Needling.
Yeah.
The steal the tape too, the grab the tape and run, the Disneyland thing. That was one of those. Luckily where he jumped off was right at the monorail station. So
that's what you gotta do.
I ran down to help Lance get out of the moat and fight off the sailors that were grabbing him. But
oh my god,
the tapes went straight on the monorail and out. Like
yeah, right. That's the way to do it. That's the smartest thing to do. We've like filmed things where we were just promoting for one of our shows, and we were kind of known for doing stunts. So we had like 1,000 flyers that we were dropping into a mall from the top floor through all the people that are on the bottom. And I'm like, all right, 2 people dropping, like, a camera on each side. I'm like, here are the escalators from the top floor. Like, basically, it's almost like the flyer droppers, like, get the attention so the people with the cameras can kind of slip out through the crowd. And it's almost like you got to plan for it. With something like that, it's got to be like...
It's always smart to swap, back when there were tapes.
Yeah, to put a different tape in?
Swap that tape out and put another tape in there and let them steal the blank.
That's right. Do you have that like taped up somewhere? It's like, all right, when we film, like, here's the blank tape, the dummy tape.
We've done it so long, and we know the rule. Like, once you get the gold, you slip that tape. You slide the little tab, stick that tape in your sock, and put a new one in, and get ready for the cops.
Oh man, that's crazy. That's super smart. Wow, that's a great tip. Yeah, actually, so going back to the camaraderie, I kind of wanted to talk about this a little bit. It's funny because, I'm sure, like, when you became the editor of this magazine, I'm sure that you weren't kind of like, oh yeah, like I might be going like on a tour in this van with people to like go get ideas, and I wonder how much the group like dynamic together goads you into doing kind of doing stuff.
The way it worked, like honestly, I ran the show, right? Yeah. But I never got to go outside. Like I was stuck in the office because I did all the layout and put the whole thing together. Yeah. So when I went on tour, I was bursting with energy and ready to guide the whole ship into the
so it's almost like you were like yeah, you want me to go, like you were like psyched, you weren't
I'm out of the fucking office, we're gonna do this right.
And you forgot pro skaters, so you needed to make content.
It didn't matter, pro skaters, it didn't matter.
Like, see, that's the funniest part about this is kind of how what you think you're gonna do changes so much.
Like
this kind of thing.
We were in Mardi Gras, we had a van full of skaters. And we're staying out in the middle of nowhere. We get into this parade, we get lost, and all of a sudden end up at a biker bar.
Oh, good.
And
because if there's two groups of people
where we don't even go into the biker bar,
along.
but I've probably got 8 guys with me.
Yeah.
Like 5 pro skaters and some of the guys who work for the magazine, and we're about to walk into the bar, and we're in the middle of I don't know New Orleans.
Yep.
And right before we go in, I called the guys up, hey guys. Harley down, and I kicked over a motorcycle, and all of a sudden we're all guilty. Any one of us gets caught, we're fucked.
Yep.
And so it was just right before we're going in, kick over the motorcycle, and we gotta go. And now it's an adventure.
Just for like yeah, exactly. Just for the adventure.
Just run. It's not in the magazine. There's no pictures. It's not even for anything other than fuck you. We're doing an adventure.
Yeah, this was just for fun.
I like that as you told that story, Patrick just buried his face in his hands.
I was just thinking, like, I'm glad I wasn't there.
Oh yeah, I am also. We would have been like reading in a public library somewhere.
It's so good for you. You have to run. You have to hide. You have all your life. You know, like
you start being able to handle adrenaline better. I think in situations. That's so funny. Well, so I have kind of like a similar question about you, where it's like, so you started out as you skateboarded, and then you kind of went towards photography in general, and now you're directing this documentary. So that's a real large change over that arc.
Yeah, but my favorite part, I worked at Thrasher.
Right.
Okay.
But I liked doing the photography, and I liked writing the articles for more of the storytelling aspect.
Right.
The action photos were kind of the most boring part. Mm-hmm. So I think me and Jeff are similar. We like the narrative, the storytelling.
Yeah.
So even though the medium changed, it feels like there's continuity.
Yeah, I was gonna say that's the thing is, it definitely feels like it all fits together. It's just a funny like path to go in to get there. You know, the documentary is great. We watched it last night, as I kind of said earlier, and I was really surprised at how much footage you had, because that's one of the things we were talking about too. Was like, okay, yeah, in 2017, it's easy to get this much footage.
Right.
And like back then, it's like you guys were like probably burning through tapes and have you this backlog. So I'm interested in where this backlog of this footage was.
Well,
I know it's a weird question.
Yeah, luckily, a lot of it was saved.
Yeah.
A lot of it made it into our videos, but then we also found a lot of the source tapes.
That's what I was gonna say.
Like,
what did you guys film with? I'm just interested.
They were like high eight.
Yeah.
Mostly
That's what I think at that time.
It was hard to find the tapes and then figure out a way to import them.
The way it's gonna look best. Yeah.
I mean, we lost, probably 2/3 of it. That's the third that remains. But even still, for that to even be around was awesome as we were.
Yeah.
And we were going to all the filmers and seeing what they had. And a lot of times there's just stuff in between the skates that we would just find,
That's it. You play through that hour-long tape and you're like, we use this and this. And then there's a weird discussion
like the Big Brother office was at the Big Brothers. It was at the World Industry Skate Park. It was a little office in the skate park. So a lot of times the filmers would be filming them, and then some nonsense would spill out of the office, and they would film that, but then go back to the skate. Yeah, so it's just not.
Oh yeah,
very organized.
Yeah.
And like Patrick said, it was very natural for me. Putting together the magazine and then starting to put together the videos of the TV show, it's the same.
And the way skateboarding is documented, the way even a kid gets sponsored, even then, was to make videos and always have a camera.
Right.
So I think kids just had the camera.
Yeah, that's true.
And then did hijinks.
Yeah, that's true.
So I think skateboarding was ahead
of its time.
Totally. And even like, and you see it in the documentary, like we were the first magazine that actually grabbed video frames.
Right.
So we were filming instead of shooting pictures a lot of times.
Right.
So
are there things that you're like, oh man, like I want to remember, it's like the hamburger incident, and you're like looking through footage to try and figure out like the hamburger incident, of course. Infamous.
Sounds pretty tame, but okay.
I mean, there's a lot of stuff missing. Like a lot of stuff didn't get filmed.
Right.
So
that's what I was thinking too. And we were kind of thinking about why right now? Because this footage has existed for so long, and this documentary kind of could have been made for a while. How come right now this has happened? I want to know the story of like the inception of like, hey, let's move forward with this, because I'm sure it's been talked about for a long time.
I can tell you that. So, so yes, we've had the idea for a while.
Yeah.
Like, but what happens? My old assistant ended up writing a script about his experience working for me, and it was while we were doing Jackass World, the website. It was it was just like Big Brother.
Yeah.
And I thought that's kind of funny, but if you made it more about Big Brother, like if you were this outsider who came in and worked for Big Brother for a little bit, he wanted it to be a scripted show.
Okay.
So we went out and pitched that around, and we pitched it to Hulu, and no one liked that idea, or they didn't like it enough to do that show. But right after the pitch, or a day after, or a week after, whatever, I get a call from Hulu like, hey, what about doing a documentary about Big Brother instead of this? And I'm like, good idea. All right, now we have someone paying the bill on it, so we'll do it. And so
fun fact, that assistant's script later became The Devil Wears Prada.
Man, they changed the story a lot.
Not as much as you think.
Oh man, yeah. I we had a lot of fun watching it last night. I just want to make sure we actually plug it and not just like leave it out. But yeah, so it's going to be streaming on Hulu. What day?
June 3rd.
Yeah, that's right. June 3rd. It's called Dumb, the story of Big Brother magazine.
In time for the Tiananmen Square anniversary.
Yes, of course.
That's what it's time for.
It's cool. Yeah, I remember seeing the guy like he stopped the tank and then he did a kickflip over it. So it makes sense.
Big Brother issue number 122 in front of that tank.
How hard was it to come up with different like logos and covers for every issue? That's one of the things that was interesting.
That was the best. Like what I hated it when it was actually Flint made us
standardize it,
and that was one. That's where it started getting less interesting for me. Like because that was just against what we were about.
Yeah,
and sort of the reason they wanted us to standardize it, one, it said skateboarding really clearly.
Right.
Yeah.
But two, like that was the best-selling issue. But the reason it was the best-selling issue is it was polybagged, and above where it said skateboarding, it said free stickers inside. Like so of course that was random. Do that every time and show me the science of which one sold better. Like
we changed the name of the magazine to Free Stickers Inside.
It was a pain in the ass to change all the logos out, but that's like as an artist, as an art director, that's what you want to do.
Absolutely.
You don't want to do the same.
That's some of the joy I find in improv is that it's a different thing every time I go up.
The photo can dictate what the logo should look like.
Right.
Yeah. That makes a lot of sense to me too. I mean, I design flyers all the time too, so it's honestly the same exact thing as that.
It made my job easier,
right?
When it's standardized, but it just took some of the love out of it.
Oh yeah. One of the things I was actually thinking about that it's kind of a boring question, but from a legal aspect, how did the magazine just get out with like all this nudity in it? That's one of the things that I was wondering. Someone's like, we were watching it last night with my friend, and he was like, "Oh, because it was a subscription only." I'm like, "It wasn't subscription only. It was sold in stores."
It's not a legal thing, though.
Oh,
it's more of a where can you sell it? And
right.
Once it gets discovered, I guess, then it stops being available. It does.
Yeah.
It starts going into the adult section.
Yeah, I was gonna say because there is the moment in the documentary.
It's not illegal.
I felt like back then skating was under radar, and most skaters were 15 years old, or 16, or 17, or 18, but there weren't 30-year-old skaters.
Right.
Or that many.
Right.
There weren't people.
There weren't too many that could have like they could go to the adult section.
It was like a secret. Nobody told their parents about the magazine.
That's what I was thinking. There wasn't anyone that was like conservative enough to be like, I'm against this.
And by the way, while we did have uncensored nudity, we didn't have a lot of newsstand distribution. It was when we went to Flint, we got bigger newsstand distribution. Right. And ironically, with being at Flint, we had to start covering nipples and penises.
Yeah.
And vaginas.
Yeah, right. And that's also when the people started coming out and you had to start polybagging it and kind of rating it as an adult magazine, I guess, or places did anyway.
Yeah. Well, by then, it was Flint. We actually toned it down a little bit.
Yeah.
At times, but then we'd always tone it back up. Right. So, like while the eyes were on us from above at Flint, we had to keep it clean, but then it just always would end up loosening up again and getting back to normal.
Oh yeah. One of the things towards the end of the documentary is you guys are you're talking to Dave Carney, and he kind of feigns being emotional about the whole thing. Yeah. But were people getting emotional? Because I don't know. I think I would. I think I definitely would. Were people kind of getting those like glassy-eyed, golden years kind of feelings? I would think so.
Yeah, I think so. I mean,
Sean did a little bit.
Steve-O did.
Yeah. Steve-O did. Yeah,
Steve-O.
Oh, Johnny Knoxville
did.
I would imagine that because I believed it at first, and then he's kind of laughing and saying like, "Yeah, they saw me piss my pants."
Earl was the opposite. He was like bringing up stuff he'd rather have forgotten about. Like, why you gotta bring this up?
Yeah. That's funny. Yeah.
These were the worst years of my life.
It's funny. Like I had Hulu looking out for me, like saying, you should take that part out where you make Earl eat the pink snowballs and drink the blue soda. It's just you're kind of coming off like a dick. I go, you know what? You're right. I should take it out, but you got to leave it in.
This is what happened.
And I kind of am a dick. So I'm okay with it. Just leave it in.
That's awesome. Well, we appreciate you guys for doing this with us. It's a big deal for us.
Cool.
The movie is Dumb, the story of Big Brother magazine. It's going to be streaming on Hulu starting June 3rd, and it's an awesome watch. Super, super fun if you're a fan of hijinks and that just like independent art, really. I think if you're a fan of that, you're going to appreciate it. It's really well done, by the way. Really super well done. Because I watch a lot of documentaries, and sometimes I'm psyched for the subject, and then I'm just like, oh, they really didn't do that much with this, but it's done so well.
Yeah,
I was so
absolutely.
so impressed with it. I thought it was great. It's a real artistry to figuring out a narrative through real stories, and it was done so well.
Yeah, you
really,
nailed it.
Great job.
It was great.
Yes. But yeah, thank you guys very much. Really appreciate it.
Thank you for having us.
Wow, past Chuck and Brad, great interviewing skills.
Wow, time has not been friendly to either of you.
No.
So Jeff Tremaine's new show is called Nothing But a Good Time, and it is it's a story about 80s metal, and it's going to be on Paramount
Tin,
Plus.
aluminum,
Yeah.
iron.
Yeah. But on September 18th, it starts streaming, and it looks like Steve-O's part of it and stuff like that. It's going to be a lot of fun. I am really interested in it. I think it'll be
For
fun.
sure. Yeah.
So this was funny. It came about because, sometimes, especially when I have like breaks from work, if I'm like not working on like a ton of projects, and this was a while back, so I'm not sure exactly what the deal was, I'll just start looking up stuff and reaching out to people for different things. That's how we got involved in cons and Comic-Cons. And I reached out to Hulu, who was putting out this movie called Dumb, the Story of Big Brother Magazine. It was a documentary about Big Brother Magazine, which is the precursor to
Hate
Jackass.
documentaries on Hulu. Never good.
Yeah.
Never good.
Yeah, I've
Really?
never.
Yeah.
Oh, no, that one's awesome.
This has happened before
Yeah.
on this podcast.
Yeah. Well,
Be a Man was on Hulu.
What? Oh,
Be a Man,
yeah,
the
that's right,
documentary
yeah.
I did was on Hulu. So it was just a joke, and you're like, what are you talking about? They've got quality film.
I'll tell
Dare
you
you besmirch the good name of Hulu?
I guess the reason is because of a conversation that I have with a Hulu executive later in the story.
Oh, okay.
And it has to do with documentaries on Hulu.
Gotcha.
Yeah, so Big Brother Magazine was the precursor to Jackass, and that's where Knoxville, Steve-O, Wee Man, they were all involved, Pontius, and that was kind of where all that stuff really started with the Big Brother Magazine VHS tapes that they would send out. They were called like Dumb and Boob and whatever. Yeah. So I reached out to Hulu, and I said
I've never. Just a quick point. That was very fun.
So it was like I reached out to Hulu, and I was like, "Hey, can me and Brad come to Tribeca Film Festival and interview Jeff Tremaine?" And it's like it didn't make any sense. It's like we don't do that. We don't have a video. So they're like, "Yeah, of course." And I was like, "Okay." And so I told Brad, I'm like, "All right, we're going to Tribeca to interview Jeff Tremaine and Patrick O'Dell." Patrick O'Dell, I actually believe, is the director of the documentary, and he also directed a TV show on Vice called Epically Latered, which has to do with the skateboarding community, which is why he was the director. And so we're going to Tribeca, and I've never been to Tribeca Film Festival or anything. And they're like, "Yeah, we have a press room set up for you." And I said, "Okay, cool." I told Brad, I'm like, "Listen, whatever they say, we got to say yes." I'm like,
Sure, yeah.
If they invite us to the premiere, because we're just going there to interview them for 40 minutes.
Yeah.
I go, if they invite us to the premiere, we're saying yes. And he's like, "Okay, yeah, they're going to invite us to the premiere." I go, if they invite us to a crazy after party, we got to say yes. And he's like, "Okay, fine, whatever." And he's like, what did you thought was going to happen?
I absolutely thought. I thought neither of those things would happen, but foreshadowing, they do.
Yeah.
It's not really foreshadowing if you just directly spell out what's going to happen, is it?
Not really, no.
But it's I'm not surprised at all because we've been a part of festival stuff in the past, and like the Be a Man festival stuff, like press would come, we would do a thing, and we'd always be like, "No, please watch the thing.
Yeah.
Come to the thing later." It's like part of the process.
I
right?
think so too.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, definitely the premiere.
Yeah.
Maybe not so much the private after party that we shouldn't have been at.
Okay. Yeah. What happened at the? Why was it so
It's
private?
private.
Well, it's fun. It was fun.
Yeah.
So we go there. They had this press room set up, and we brought our mics and stuff like that. And we as people will have seen, we just filmed it with like a GoPro on the side, for the whole thing. And they invited us afterwards. The Hulu executive, actually, I think her name was Lindsay.
Nope.
Hulu.
It was Gina.
Gina Hulu.
Was it Gina?
Yes, it was.
Oh yeah, Gina Hulu. That's what it is in my phone. You're right. So she was like, "Do you guys want to come to the premiere?" And I was like. And I looked at Brad and I gave him like a little suck it, And Brad's like, ugh. And so I said, "Okay, we're going to the premiere."
Yeah.
So we go to the premiere, and they sat us with like, who did they sit us with?
They're like, make sure you sit in one of the blue seats, and we're looking, and it's row after row of red seats,
And it's not a movie theater.
No.
It's like a weird big room with lots of plants and
like an
lights.
exhibition hall.
Okay.
It was weird.
The first two rows are blue seats.
Yeah.
And so we're in the second row, the three seats on the aisle, Chuck's then girlfriend was with us as well. And we sit down and then like look over and they're like seating Travis Pastrana and his wife and Tony Hawk and his wife.
Yeah. and Wee Man.
And it's all like like the cast is in the first two rows, and then us.
Yeah, and we're for some reason that's who we were sat with.
Yeah,
and I almost feel like it was like a cast and press place, but they had no other press. Mm-hmm. So
they did have another press member. We'll get to that.
Oh yeah, but I didn't see him at the premiere.
No.
So it's basically just the cast of Jackass and Chuck and Brad. You know what I mean? Like that's basically what.
And
it
Harry
was.
Knowles.
And Harry Knowles, yes.
I was like
the other press person.
Yes. It
From
was
Ain't It Cool News, right?
Harry Carey, actually.
Oh,
it was
skateboard.
I was sitting
Who would win in a skateboard
next to
fight?
Tony Hawk and his wife, and I'm like, all
Yeah.
right, I'm just going to engage
Ms.
them.
Hawk?
Yeah,
Mrs. Hawk?
I'm like, I'm going to engage them in small talk.
Joni
and,
Hawk.
And she was, if I'm here, Tony and Joni.
Tony and Joni Hawk.
She was turned away from me the entire time.
Well, you tried to make them laugh, and they hated your joke.
No,
What was the joke?
I was scooching down the aisle, and I'm like, I got preemptive pee. That was it. That was all I said. And Chuck's like, they hate you.
No,
they
you were
hope
like
you
were like preemptive P, right, Tone Man?
And then I waited until he fist bumped me.
Yeah, and then you went like, 720, and you turned your fist around.
Yeah.
It was so weird.
Then I'm
900.
yeah.
Under it.
Fakey Madonna, and then you fell over.
it was just terms I learned from the video game.
Yeah, exactly.
I rang all 5 bells.
Yeah. I spelled skate.
Yes.
I felt the
I
secret
do
room.
I like the idea of like blurting out fakey Madonna as your fault.
Yeah.
Hey, fakey Madonna, and then you just hear chairs scatter.
Yeah, so they didn't want to talk to us after Brad's faux pas.
Yeah.
And
That's a hard move. A faux pas is hard.
They didn't want to talk to us before Brad's faux pas either.
All right, that's fair.
So
Wouldn't it be amazing if you were a skateboarder and you created a trick and called it the faux pas? That would be amazing.
That's a great name for
Hell
a trick.
yeah. Are you kidding me?
That's very funny. We should.
A 420 faux pas.
I'm writing it down right next to Dick Snorkel.
360 faux pas. Wow. These are all passwords. If you were a listener, we give you password ideas every day.
How do you spell faux pas?
FAUX space PAS.
Oh, I put W.
There's an
Fox
accent.
pads.
There's an accent somewhere.
Okay, I got Fox. Yep. But anyway, Guy Fawkes. So we were
This guy, Fox.
So, by the way, have you seen Dumb, the big story of Big Brother magazine?
I have not.
Oh, I think you'd really
I
enjoy
saw
it.
Stupid, the tale of Mad Magazine.
That is one. There is one.
I know, there is, yeah. Cracked was so mad.
Cracked is weird. But
Hey, I liked Crack.
I like Crack too.
Yeah. Wait, are we talking about the same thing? I like Crack.
But the movie is awesome.
Yeah.
I mean, Patrick O'Dell, there's a couple episodes there's a couple of episodes
He's in the IRA, right?
of Vice that are like excellent. Like there's one about Spike Jonze, which is weird because he's very like skateboard adjacent.
Yeah.
And it's really good.
No, I saw that episode. It's fantastic.
Oh yeah, it's really good.
Yeah.
The movie is great. I recommend anyone watch it. Dumb, the story of Big Brother magazine.
Because I'm sorry to interrupt. I'm so sorry, but like you just reminded me with bringing him up. Like it does feel like skateboarding created a whole swath of people that came out that are creative, behind the camera people.
Yeah.
You know, in front of the camera people, of course. There is a vibe.
Yeah.
Because it's so DIY and so grassrooty, right?
Yeah.
There is a weird vibe. This is going to sound like a joke, and I don't mean it as a joke. Like, it's adjacent in my head to, like, porn. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I totally know what you're talking about. Also, I mean, the culture has a lot of degenerates involved as well.
Right, yes,
Right.
yeah.
It's
And a
like
lot of
dirty
stories of
and
like,
gritty.
all of that tape, that's lost because that dude got arrested and this happened, stuff like that.
Yeah.
But, and there is a DIY element in that version as well, right?
I think that I've thought about the relationship between porn and wrestling a lot because I think about like Vince McMahon and the WWF. There's certain different like places, like forms of media that immediately engage with the newest technology
Right,
and immediately jump on things.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
I always thought that wrestling and porn were the same thing, where they're like, VR is here, we're doing a VR thing.
Yeah.
AR is here, we're doing an AR thing. Like it's like I always thought that was like they were just jumping at the new
JR
thing.
is here? Oh no, he's a oil rich tycoon.
Back on.
Wrestling's JR different than TV's JR.
Okay.
Yeah,
fair
wrestling.
enough.
JR says he has cerebral palsy. But
Bell's,
And also,
Bell's palsy.
it's
Bell's palsy.
it's different than the move the JR.
Yes.
yes,
Which is to give a hand job to a pirate.
Yeah.
a little guy. Junior.
A little pirate?
Junior.
Oh,
Little
Junior and
pirates.
Jake.
But I do.
Little pirates.
I do see. I know what you mean about
a tiny little ship. Oh God, here they come! Right? Oh my God,
Our
little
show.
cannons going.
Well, what about our show? Big Little Brawlers.
The Big Little Brawlers. Yeah, wrestling's
Season-
cool, but I want to
No,
see them
season
as pirates. They're pirates.
They're pirates.
No, because then it would be modern day, like Somali pirates, and I don't like that's. I'll tell you this much,
Ready,
man.
ready. Watch
Pirates,
this.
piratism really took a turn.
Wait, can
Wow,
I do a
that's
joke for
racist.
it? Can I do a joke for it? I'm decapitated now. You liked it. Admit you liked it.
I did. I absolutely did. You could
anyway.
make them walk the plank in very shallow waters.
Is the plank the same length? Plank's constant.
Plank.
Oh,
Physics.
So,
the bird on his shoulder is bigger than him.
so
Oh, he's sitting on the shoulder of a bird. Yeah.
he can't. No. So anyway,
His peg leg is a toothpick.
I
can keep going.
I see what you mean though about the porn and skateboarding world.
Yeah,
though.
yeah.
I mean, skateboarding is so fun because there's an element of DIY. I don't give a fuck danger to it.
Sure.
And the stuff that is associated with it. Not only is it like there's like the skateboard videos, and as extension,
Skidios, as they're known.
as an extension, all the Jackass stuff, the CKY stuff,
Right,
the stunts
right.
and pranks. Then punk rock and skateboarding is
Right,
a
right.
huge thing. Skate
Yeah.
punk is a genre.
And ska.
And
Don't forget ska.
That's
Ska
almost-
always gets the short stick.
That's like it's like 60% of skate. And
Right?
Yeah, and but there is
Math
like
checks out.
there is like that kind of stuff, and on top of that, obviously, even movies like Kids to me is very associated with skateboarding.
Yeah, well, I mean, there's a whole. It's like counterculture meets DIY.
Mm-hmm.
It's a case of a lot of excited, creative people
Mm-hmm.
in a space. Something's going to come out of that, right? Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Have you seen the Tony Hawk documentary "Till the Wheels Fall Off"?
No, I have not.
It's-
I did see Kids.
Kids is There's a new documentary about kids.
I know where it's like,
when we
oh,
were
this
kids.
was not good.
I want to watch it.
Yeah.
But "Till the Wheels Fall Off," I think is my.
I'm still pissed about Kids because Harmony Korine stole my thing that I did, my calling card when I was in middle school.
I have a joke that's really
which I would
inappropriate.
suck the tampons that were dipped in Kool-Aid. They were clean. They were clean.
Yeah.
And then Harmony Korine saw that. Harmony Korine saw me do a lot of things from a distance and was like, I'm going to keep that and put it in my movies.
I can imagine that watching some of his movies.
Yeah.
But I think "Till the Wheels Fall Off" is like my number one favorite skateboard documentary. It's
Yeah.
so excellent.
By the way, then it's just a surfboard.
That's an interesting observation.
I'm a modern
Still has-
philosopher.
Still has the metal.
It's really small, but the pirates that we have, our
Those
little
pirates
pirates,
can absolutely skate on those. Absolutely.
I'm embarrassed that I laughed at that.
There was going to be a third Three Ninjas movie, and it was going to be them facing little pirates.
Yeah.
Because wasn't Hulk Hogan the bad guy in the second one?
It might have been Surf Ninjas.
Oh, I'm thinking of Surf Ninjas. I'm so sorry.
You should
There's
be.
a lot of different. Remember the 90s where they were like, what else can ninjas do?
Honestly,
They could be Chris Farley.
there was just a time in filmmaking where they're like, yeah, that seems like an idea.
Yeah.
And I'm like, where is that? That's what we want.
Oh, I miss it. I miss it
want it so
entirely.
bad.
Yeah.
I think that's where all our action movies went, to be honest.
100%.
Like Snake Eyes.
We talked about this in a previous episode, I believe, where it was like there's the sitcom, and then there used to be the sit movie,
movie.
where it was
Yeah.
the situation. It was just the elevator pitch thing, and then they made the movie, and that's gone now.
I agree. And I think what's weird is like people don't realize with the loss of that,
Yeah.
you don't get the next like Ghostbusters.
Yeah,
Ghostbusters.
you don't get
is
the
that.
weird.
Yeah.
The weird that
The
becomes
Gremlins.
part of the culture. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
You don't
The
get
Goonies.
that. It's just given to you by the company.
Yeah.
The company says, here's one that feels like a movie. Here's one that has the same rhythms. Do you want that?
Instead of
You know?
instead of a new Ghostbusters, you get a new Ghostbusters.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Which is really funny.
No, that's so true.
You know
that
what I
really
mean?
is. Yeah,
That's funny.
But that's what's beautiful about that era, like the VHS era.
Yes.
Right? Like,
Oh.
let's call it that.
Fuck yeah.
That VHS era is like, yeah, there was a lot of schlock and bullshit, but that's good.
That's exactly.
There was more shit getting thrown at the wall,
Yep.
and the stuff that stuck was good, and you would get people where it was like all of a sudden, here's this person out of nowhere. Here's Harmony Korine.
Yeah.
Here's Kevin Smith.
Yeah.
Here's literally every writer-director that came out of the 90s. Quentin Tarantino. You know
Exactly,
what I mean? The
Tarantino.
Coen brothers, their whole world was, again, like we were talking about with like the skate community, like a bunch of creative people.
Yeah.
There's a whole slew of actors and filmmakers that like the Coen brothers like hung out with. They lived in apartments together. They did the whole thing. And that's why you get like amazing actors, amazing filmmakers, all that stuff. Anyway, sorry.
I agree. I think that part of it too is like when you do have the schlock stuff or the stuff that's not great, what you do have is people like directors, producers, actors, whatever, editors that are working on it that have certain skills where you'll watch a movie and you'll be like, this was dumb. But man, all the gore stuff in Evil Dead was so fun.
That's right, right.
And
yeah.
so then
Tom Savini exists.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So Friday the 13th happens, or
Right.
Texas Chainsaw, and then those people get to move on and work on a better project and bring those
and then
really
you get like
interesting
the
skills.
thing, or you know what I mean? Yeah.
Exactly. And so all those things, those are basically what I would consider stepping stones
Yes.
to the great stuff.
Well, that schlock allowed those people to play in that space and
Exactly.
figure things out and try a new thing.
Exactly.
Whether it's a new camera movement, a new practical effect, a new this, or a new that. Now, when you get, because now we still have a lot of schlock, a lot of trash. But no one's like learning a new thing on the trash.
Yeah.
No one's advancing a little thing because the company is just like, here's the trash.
Yeah, exactly. I know. It's really weird. We were just talking about, because we're going to do Child's Play, franchise flashback. And I listened to a 3.5-hour podcast from the Halloweenies about the behind the scenes of Child's Play. And the entire thing is filmmakers figuring out how to manipulate filming to make this doll seem real and scary.
Right, right.
And it's so effective and fun and real. And it's like scary. And I'm like, that doesn't happen anymore. Because you go, we're going to do that with special effects, even though our special effects budget is really shitty. It's just going to look bad.
Yeah, hey, we're gonna do like the Thing reboot. We're gonna do all practical effects. Never mind, we're replacing the practical effects with CGI.
Yeah.
We're just gonna do it that way. Yeah, that creative zhuzh is gone.
Yeah.
And there's a reason why you can go back to the VHS era and watch schlock and still have real enjoyment there.
For sure.
Because there's some kind of stripe of a genuine thing.
There's authenticity,
and when it's
yeah.
bad, you can see the attempt. And now something that's bad is just empty.
Yeah.
Exactly.
It's just, it's devoid of anything.
Exactly. It's like
We're old men just complaining about the way things used to be. And I think it's very funny.
Well, even like, me and Brad were talking about how he's like, oh yeah, this thing in Child's Play wasn't great, this thing. And then it's like, yeah, but like,
He didn't like the doll talking?
but like the idea of all the stuff, like the animatronics, you are like, this is incredible.
Yeah.
Sure, yeah.
It's just like, no matter
absolutely.
what, this is incredible. Same thing with Tom Savini on Friday the 13th.
Yeah,
where it's like,
yeah.
this movie is not amazing. That's not an amazing movie. It's just like, that's awesome. This is great.
Yeah.
That's cool. This is fun.
Right.
Yeah, I know. It's tough.
Yeah.
But yeah, so we're at the premiere. Movie's awesome. We really enjoy it.
Yeah.
They do a big cast Q&A, and it's almost everyone from Jackass. Almost everybody. Probably like, including some of the camera people, because I think Rick Kosick was there.
Yeah.
It was probably like 11 people all
Was
together.
Abe Vigoda there?
Abe Vigoda was there. He was
Cool.
Yeah.
Because I don't know if the viewer listener knows this. Abe Vigoda was a big part of that Jackass crew pre the MTV show.
Yeah, because his stuff was so dirty that they couldn't transfer to TV.
Yeah, it was really filthy.
The
That's where
shit-eating
they originally were going to do Bad Grandpa with Abe Vigoda, but he passed, unfortunately.
Right.
So,
He was actually a bad grandpa.
He really was. Yeah.
Yeah.
But in real life, he was a good grandfather.
Oh, no. In real life, he was a good grandpa.
Yeah.
But then in this movie, it was going to be
bad
a
grandpa,
bad grandpa.
yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
R.I.P. Abe Vigoda loved skateboarding. People don't know that about Abe Vigoda.
The diaper play stuff he did
Fakey Madonna.
was daring, but stomach turning.
Yeah. And that's where the phrase daring do comes from.
Jesus.
I kept a straight face the whole
What
time.
a pull.
I like that.
I do.
Yeah.
I do like the
I
wordplay.
love an obscure language joke.
I do.
Etymology.
Yeah.
So the movie was great.
Yeah.
Cast Q, and it was a cool experience.
Yeah.
Who was there that you were like, you said, that you hinted at somebody being there, another press person.
We're almost there.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah.
But it's just fun. Like I love all the Jackass stuff. I do think
Yeah.
that the Jackass movies captured a magic that is extremely difficult to do.
Yeah.
And I love all the guys involved in different ways. So it was really fun to be in that room and be invited to that. So we go to leave, and Brad's like, finally I can go home to my bed. And I was like, all right, well.
And you said that to Joni Hawk?
Yeah.
I was just talking, and I talked to that woman Gina from Hulu. I was like, all right, thank you very much. Like, we really appreciate it. And she's like, do you guys want to come to the after party? And Brad was like, no. And he's like,
who said that?
Yeah, exactly. And I'm like,
Chuck's giving me another.
yeah. And all the pyro's going off behind me. But I was
I
like,
wish you wouldn't carry that pyro with you.
I was like, yeah.
And you felt great because you were like, finally, everybody makes fun of me because I carry around every copy of Tony Hawk's Pro Skater, every iteration of it.
Yes.
In my pocket. Just in case.
In my pocket.
Yeah.
You know?
And so I was like, hell yeah. And she goes, okay, it's a private after party. So you have to go. I have to put you on a list. So I'll add you to the list. And it was at like an underground Chinese restaurant.
Yeah, that's very weird.
And so I was like, okay. And we're
John Wick has been to a few of those.
Yes.
and where were we? Like the West Village?
I mean, we were in Tribeca, right?
I thought we kind of, I don't know. So those areas are kind of small, but we were around that area. We went there, we go up, and we're like, well, you tell the story.
Yeah. So we walk up to the security person and say, hey, we're here for the party. And they said, all right, who are you? And
Do
we
a
said,
kickflip. That's what they said.
And it took us hours. We got it. We said, we're Chuck and Brad from the Chuck and Brad podcast. Or we said, we're Chuck and Brad. And they said, what media outlet are you from? And we said, the Chuck and Brad podcast.
That name never seemed as bad as when we had to do stuff like this.
Yeah.
And so
Chuck and Brad from what? The Chuck and Brad podcast? It almost sounds like accusatory.
And so that person is like, well, let me check. And they send someone else to check. Fine. As we're standing there waiting to be cleared, somebody comes up and he's like, hey, I'm a journalist. I'm on the list. And they're like, what's your name? He's like, Mark. And it's like, oh, what are you from? He's like, Time Magazine. And Chuck and I are like, what?
And so we're like, okay, all right.
We're like, oh, colleagues.
And this is around what year?
2016, 17?
17
Yeah.
maybe.
Oh, okay. So Time Magazine had already plummeted at that point.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, this was the nadir of Time Magazine.
Yeah.
So
Did you know that?
I don't know anything about it.
Oh yeah, Time Magazine. I don't remember what year it was. It was pre all like the 2016 election stuff. It was before that, but they got bought out, and then the magazine slowly started to dip into something else.
Yeah.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah, I think so.
But I do think that's funny. So now Time, and I'm sure that reporter was just like, I used to do a political beat.
Yep.
Now I'm doing this.
He's
You know
like,
what I mean?
he's like, I used to talk to heads of state, and now I'm waiting in line to maybe talk to Wee Man.
I got a scoop from Spiro Agnew once.
Yep.
So Jeff Tremaine, tell me about that diarrhea.
Now, Abe Vigoda put me in a shit helmet.
yeah.
By the way,
You're gonna hate this.
our go-to fake Jackass thing we refer to is the shit helmet. And it's like, it could be a helmet made of shit. It could be a helmet that you wear as you jump into shit. It could, there's a lot of different possibilities. But then they come back and they're like, all right, you guys, you're good to go. And so all three of us start walking in. He's like, no, not you, Time Magazine, the Chuck and Brad podcast. And we're like,
my God.
That really happened.
Yeah.
And so we walked in, we go downstairs, and it literally was like a private party for the cast of Jackass. And me and Brad. And like, who else was there?
I mean, eventually Mark from Time Magazine got in.
And Travis Pastrana and stuff. But
Tony Pastroni was there.
what's tough is like everyone's there.
Yeah.
And we're hanging out, there's different people there. And like, I don't remember exactly who was there, but Wee Man was definitely there. Pastrana was definitely there. I don't think Tony Hawk went.
No. And we, like, Steve-O left. Like, we passed him on the street.
Yes.
But it was like, they're all reconnecting and hanging out with their pals. And Chuck and I are like, how do we break into these conversations?
I know.
Yeah.
I was like, I don't like to bother these people. I mean, I've always said it. It's a very boring take, but like, I don't really like to bother celebrities or people. It's like, if I have 2 seconds with someone, I'm not going to say anything that's going to be interesting enough that's really warrants me taking their attention away from whatever.
Although that was the perfect opportunity for you to bring up your enema.
I know.
Like you should have just been like, ha ha ha. Anyway, I've done watery poops on a parking lot.
I'm a bit of a documentarian myself.
Yeah. I'm a bit of a goof pooper myself.
then I shoved Chuck out of the way.
Dave England, me and Dave England.
Goof poopers.
Goof poopers. Funny.
I shoved Chuck out of the way. I'm like, hey, Tremaine, shit helmet.
Oh my God.
You write it down.
He's doing it. Time Magazine's like, we're going to do a mirror for the person of the year this year. It's you.
Time Magazine, it looks down at his notes. He's got shit helmet. He just crosses it off and leaves.
Yeah, he was going to suggest it. But I was like, I'm not going to bother them.
No.
So we actually hung out with the woman from Hulu.
She was very nice.
She was wicked nice, and I talked to her for a while. And I was like, so what are you guys going to do? Like in terms of like, what are you guys focusing on? And she's like, honestly, Hulu is only focused on making documentary projects right now. And she gave us a list of all the documentary stuff. And I was like, oh, that's really cool. And we basically just hung out there for a while. I think there was some free food. And it was just like a fun experience. And I'm like, I don't want to bother these guys.
Try one of those sandwiches.
Eat one of the sandwiches.
Eat one of the sandwiches, John.
Don't smell it first.
Yeah. Pinch your nose.
I think Wee Man, like, and you know, it's super loud down there. Wee Man thought I was someone else, and he's like, dude, and he made a reference to something someone had said, like a question from the panel about like, I don't know, a hair metal band or something. Yeah. And he's like, dude, don't Night Ranger sucks. And I'm like, okay, like, I was not the person who asked that question.
I can't imagine, and this is gonna sound bad, and I don't want it to be bad. It's more like I'm also at an extreme, right?
Yeah.
So like Brad Williams is a little person, stand-up comic, and like I remember being in the green room with him, and it is silly.
Yeah.
The two of us.
Right.
Oh,
together.
yeah. Well, that's such a
I mean?
stark contrast.
Exactly. I'm 6'7", with a little person. Like this is what is this, a movie?
Right.
You know what I mean? I love the idea of being in a loud, clubby type environment and having to have a conversation with Wee Man.
Yeah.
Like it's insane to me. I'm
that's funny.
so bent down.
Yeah.
Like what? Yeah.
I think we were also like a step up behind a railing. So I'm really like Chuck's holding my feet so that I can hear.
Yeah. But yeah, no, it was a really weird experience, really fun, obviously really fun. And I will say one thing that was cool that I actually did take away from the conversation that we had with Jeff Tremaine was I said to him, you know, with creative projects, it's like people are always trying to kind of like outdo themselves. That's kind of a consistent thing. I'm like, with Jackass, that gets really tough because it's like things have to get more dangerous. The stakes have to get higher. I'm like, how do you guys deal with that? And he said, and I still think about this all the time, like literally, it's not me dramatizing. I've talked to people about this. People say, what's the best advice you ever got in filmmaking? And this is what I quote. He basically said, he's like, we used to think like that. We used to always think, how do we top this? How do we top that? He goes, the truth is, if you're always looking to top everything you did, there's like a limit to what you can do. And that's not a good way to look at making anything creative. And what you should do is just focus on making the next good thing. And I think that's a lot better to make a wealth of creative work.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I'm like, I think that's actually really, really good advice. And I try to think of that too, because sometimes I do think, well, we did this. How do we make this bigger than this? And I'm like, well, it's just a different thing that we make great.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
yeah.
And I think that's a really smart thing. So I agree. It was really cool to take that away from an actual conversation with a director I really looked up to.
Absolutely.
You know, so it was a really fun experience. And I've been going through some old footage and stuff that I've never released. We never really had a YouTube channel associated with the Chuck and Brad podcast, with my band. We would kind of just like, you know, we would intentionally put out like a video on Funny or Die to promote our shows with the band. But there was never a space to just drop video all the time like there is now.
Yeah.
And so I'm hoping I'm going to kind of mine some of this content, but I'm finding stuff that's like me and Ray sitting down for the first time at my house when we're about to edit Undependent and talk through it.
Really?
Oh, yeah. Huh. First time you come to my house ever. And it's me and you sitting down and having a chat like on camera.
It's the camera.
On camera.
The camera in the bathroom.
Oh, right. I didn't realize we had that conversation so close to the door.
Yeah.
We did the same joke there.
And
that's when you showed me that shit helmet?
we did it. What was the joke? We did it, using every part of the spider.
Yeah.
I beat him in a joke the other day. This is from the sports episode we just recorded. Yeah. Which will be out by now, the NFL preview episode. But anyway.
And I can't wait for the NFL review episode.
But like I sent you guys both the footage of our first Halloween show at the Comedy Connection.
Yeah.
And it's all the three of us plus Derek Furtado in the green room doing the hands thing.
Yeah.
And there's a ton of stuff that's just like random and out there. So I'm like, I really would like to dig through it.
There's also all the gonzo porn we did.
Right.
Yeah.
That's how we originally met, the
Gonzo,
three of us.
It's mostly Camilla, but there is...
Yeah. We're not talking chicken. Let's just say she gets around. You know what I mean? But no, I remember we first met because there was a director on a shoot that got mad at all three of us individually because we were being jokesters.
Yeah.
And they kept saying, "Stop talking."
Yeah.
You're not here to talk.
I hear that a lot.
Yeah, well, especially in the job, you know, and so we were all like, oh, whatever, you know what I mean, and that's how we met.
Yeah,
That's right.
Yeah,
That's how it went. But anyway, this was one of the things I dug up.
Man was there,
And I was like, oh man, I'm like, let's put this out because Jeff Tremaine's coming out with a new show. That's fun. But hopefully more stuff. I think around Christmas we're going to release. We did a big live Christmas games episode, and it was Chuck and Ray versus Brad and Brian Bowden.
That's right. What a pairing.
Yeah, right.
Brad and Brian.
birds of a feather.
And we did a big Christmas games episode for the Chuck and Brad podcast. Video is never released.
Yeah.
And so this December we're going to put it on the Funbearable feed.
I think
and
there's birds of a feather for the two of us on one team, and then bird and a horse on the other side.
But like honestly, one of my favorite bits we ever did live was the roast of Tiny Tim.
Oh yeah.
And that's one of
your favorites.
I just think the jokes are so funny. I'm really happy with the actual punchlines. Do you remember we had my buddy Abe come out as Tiny Tim?
Yeah.
There was a lot of funny stuff.
It was unfortunate. The crowd didn't agree, I think, with like that being the funniest thing that's happened. You know what I mean? I had a lot of fun doing it.
Yeah,
for sure. Yeah.
I just liked the jokes. I just liked the 10 jokes back and forth that we did.
Absolutely.
But there's a lot of fun stuff
Yeah.
in that. And hopefully more footage to come from yesteryear. And other things that should be released that haven't been released yet.
Well, folks, thank you all so much for joining us for this walk down memory lane. I got nothing. If you want to send us an email, Funbearable
You said that like it was based on something within this, and it was like a pun.
I know.
Right?
As I started talking and I didn't know how to finish it.
Is Tremaine like in a wheelchair now? You're like a walk down memory lane. Fuck you.
Yeah. We paralyzed him. Chuck and I gave him a 3D. You can send us an email, funbearablepod@gmail.com, or find us on socials @funbearablepod. If you are new to the Funbearable world, if you're a Jeff Tremaine or Jackass or Big Brother magazine fan and you stopped by to check us out, thank you so much. We hope you continue to stick around. There's always this much nonsense.
Oh, yeah. And you said Jackass, which is the French Jackass.
Jackass.
Yeah.
Jackass.
Yeah. Oh, and by the way,
Spelled Jacques.
a little person as a pirate they technically go by Little Mateys.
I like Little Baby.
Yeah. I think that's a brand.
Is it?
Yeah, I think so. I don't know.
It is now.
Yes. If not, TM us.
Yeah.
But yeah, thank you so much. We're really grateful that you came by and checked it out. For Ray Harrington and Chuck Staten, I'm Brad Rohr saying thank you so much, and we're sorry for being Funbearable.
You can go down in Davy Jones's little locker.
Little Smee.
Oh, the little tiny hook hand.
20 leagues under the sea.
That's
That's good. That's good. Damn. There's got to be more.